and welcome to AJT Mandala Artist and GT. Find me on Instagram at Artistry and Craft. So I've been asked to do a zoomed in version of the dotting video, so you hopefully should be able to see that my piece of cardstock has been zoomed right in. That's all hopefully that you can see, with a little bit of card around the outside. All the dotting tools, all the paint are completely off screen, so you'll only see those as and when I put them into the piece of art. Unlike the last video where you could see the entire range of tools that I was using and the paints that I was using, my paint palette. This time none of that is visible to you. So I've started off, I've already put the initial dot in the very centre, simply because that then allows me to work from that point. My colour palette has the blue that you can see, it's got a gold for highlighting, and then shades of pink and red. I've got a couple of fluorescent pinks in this one just to liven it up a little bit, because previous colour palette I felt was a little bit on the dark side. So I'm going to start with some fairly bright pink, as before, starting off by marking my quadrants with 4 dots. Once I've done that, then it becomes easier to work in between them. So my 4 quadrants are there. What you can do, as I just did, if you feel that your dots aren't big enough despite the size of the tool that you're using, you can go back into your paint, grab a little bit more and make them a bit bigger. So here comes then the dots in between my 4 quarters. It allows me a little bit more confidence in deciding where those 4 quarters are. There we go, so that's my 4 quarters, and the other 4 are the quadrant marked out. And as before, when I'm going off shot, there is a tissue so I can mark, clean out my dotting tool in between. So that's my first 4. I then want a slightly bigger dotting tool, and I'm going to go in between those with a slightly larger, and this time brighter dot as well. So in between comes my larger, brighter dot. I felt that as I say, the last colour palette was quite dark, and I just wanted to liven this one up a little bit. You'll notice that I do kind of repeat dot. There are a couple of mistakes on this, unfortunately, and well, that's the way it goes. They're not always perfect. It's on video camera, so I can either start all over again, which to be frank I'm not going to do, or live with my couple of mistakes. They are very small, very minor. You can see that even those of us that have been doing this for a while, as you now begin to realise, do make mistakes. So carrying on with my pink theme, I'm going to have some pink carrying on my dots again, fairly small on these, what I called the quadrant markers. So in we go. The other thing you can do if you feel you're running out of paint is rotate your dotting tool, and you'll find that there is paint as you rotate it that you didn't use previously, and will allow you to make those dots. So there we go, that's my quadrants again. This time I'm going to come in with something slightly bigger and start marking out inside those. So I'm going to go for a slightly metallic pink now. So there's my metallic pink going in. You can tell that my little pot of metallic pink is running out, because there's a slight clonking sound as I hit the bottom of it. So in goes the metallic pink. Again, as I was talking about before, you don't actually have to touch the dotting tool to the paper. You let the paper soak up the paint, and that way you get a more even dot and a more controlled dot. So there's my pinks in place. Now I choose to sort of work out from this with some of that blue, that intense blue that's in the centre. So it's really nice bright blue colour. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a walking the dots style exercise. They're not small like often the walking the dots are. They're bigger because I want to mark out, again I'm in quarters, but then my design is going to work out from those points, which is why I've got this kind of dot walking exercise going on. So that's those. Shift around so I can work on the other side. If you do need to rotate your work, it's much easier to rotate the work than to try and get your hand to go backwards. Obviously one's hand does not turn backwards, so rotating the design is the easy option. So there you go, design with the 4 quadrants, and I've got some walking dots now that have been going on. I'm choosing to go up into my transfer punch set now because I want to make some really big dots like I did in the centre, but we're going to be using red. Now I want to take this out and brighten it up. Take my additional colours. There we go. And again, whiz around. My hand is not going to work backwards. As you can see, these are coming in pretty close to that dot walking, so I'm not going to put anything on coming out from those or going around them. I don't want a dot walking exercise going around them because I think it's pretty much big enough as it is. Going to another red then, because obviously I've got my red theme going on now, pinks and reds. I'm going to take a sort of a more raspberry rather than a cherry colour and go out again after that one. Same all the way around. And twist again. You'll see that I often don't have my piece of work straight. Once I've marked out my sections, so to speak, it's actually easier, as I said, to rotate the work than it is to keep the work in place and try and keep yourself rotating around it, because that won't work so well. I'm just cleaning off the dotting tool in between times. So now this is where I'm going to put in a little bit of that gold colour, because I can see that I've got space to do a little bit of dot walking without it clashing into the work that's already there. So I'm just going to move my gold closer to me so I've got the ability to work with it. So 1 dot on the edge, 1, 2, 3, 4. I do have it counting them as I've done before. That way I'll make sure I've got the same number each time round, because it's easy to kind of lose count and forget how many you've got and forget on what's going on. There we go. So put my dot in, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, carrying on round it. Same again, 1 on the edge, 1, 2, 3, 4, carrying on round. 1 on the edge, 1, 2, 3, 4, round. 1 on the edge, 1, 2, 3, 4, round. 1 on the edge. As this is a piece of work that I want to show you top dotting on, I'm going to leave it with a fairly straightforward design as it stands at the moment. The reason I'm choosing to leave that straightforward design is, as I said, I want to do some top dotting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it, I'm going to let it dry, and then I'll be able to show those top dots in more detail. Previously people have said they couldn't see the dotting going on the top dots, which is why I don't want to really add too much more to this, otherwise I'm not going to have the ability to put those top dots on very clearly. So last thing I'm going to do is put a large dot, again using the transfer punch set, on the end of each of these kind of spokes that I've got going on. Again, it's a slightly metallic colour. This is actually a metallic pink. Later on when I top dot, I've got a metallic red that's going to go on the top of this, which will then tie in the colours that I'm using. Whenever you're dotting, you always need to think about what your design is going to look like, what your colour palette looks like, because you don't have the chance to go back in and change it. Top dots can change it a bit, they can give you a little bit of difference to your design, but essentially you're kind of tied once you've started putting those dots on the piece of paper or on the canvas, depending on what you're using. So we've got a nice simple design. Just quickly looking at it, I think it can take another row of walking the dots, but this time I'm going to use that green colour and just take those around the outside of it. So we're going to do another row of dot walking. So I want my my lovely metallic pale blue, it's a gorgeous colour, kind of peacock blue. Now I'm going to put one and then do exactly what I was doing before and count round it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to take 5 around this one. So a little bit longer, a little bit larger dot, and it can take that round. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 around the outside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see that even though I've worked very hard on the spacing, they don't always appear the same. That's the joy of this stuff, in that even though you're doing this and working hard with your spacing, the paint doesn't always play ball with you, so it doesn't always come out at exactly the same size, even if you are really carefully trying to organise your spacing like I did. It just doesn't always work. It doesn't, I say, always play ball. Sometimes the paint spreads further than you want it to, sometimes it doesn't spread as much, and you end up with something that's kind of off in terms of whether it's got the right spacing or not. So I think there, that I'm going to leave. Hello and welcome back to AJT Mandala Artist. This is the design that I had before. It's been given sort of 24 hours to dry, and now I'm going to the top dotting, so I can show you what top dotting is like. Top dotting is simply a process by which you can add a little bit of colour, a little bit of dots, and change the way a design looks by adding to it rather than kind of leaving it as it originally looked. So again, using the transfer punch set and the dotting tools are the two things I'm going to be using through the course of this video, just to show you how to do that. So first of all, I've got a blue dot in the centre, but I want to top dot it, so I'm going to look and see which punch set is slightly smaller. So that's pretty much identical in size, so you want to go smaller for the top dots. So that one's smaller, so that's going to be my first top dot. Again, reasonable amount of paint on the dotting tool, just about see there, and then it goes into the centre of that original dot. So there we go, top dot in the centre of the original dot. And then you pretty much carry on like that. You can change how your design looks. by adding a different colour to the dots that you already have. So I'm going to choose quite large dotting tools because I want quite large dots on some of these things. So my red is going to gain gold, so I've got gold that's going to go in my reds. So each time I've just checked that the dotting tool fits inside the dot that I've already got quite comfortably. That just allows you to make this a little bit easier when you're doing them. You don't want to have something that's pretty much the same size because it makes it a lot harder when they're the same size. So you can see the top dots then on that next row. Then I'm going to dot again. I want gold because I've got red and gold kind of going on this one. On the row next, that's about the right sort of size. So we've then got gold, which is then matched by the gold that was inside that on the top dots, and the gold dot walking the dots that's around the outside of this one that I'm just top dotting at the moment. You can go around again when it's all dry and put an even smaller row of dots on if you want to, that go on top of what's there, but I kind of like the effect of this gold and red. I've then got, you can see, pinks and blues, so I'm going to go on top of the opposite way round. So initially I put pink on top of blue. This time I'm going to put blue on top of pink. I just want to check the size again. It should be about right. So doing the opposite to my centre. So my centre is blue with the pink on top. My top dots around the outside then are pink initially and are having the blue put on top, which again matches the dotting that's gone on around the outside. So the walking the dots and the dots down into the centre of the design are the same colour as the top dots that have just gone on. So it kind of echoes the same imagery all the way through. Now if I look at, sorry, excuse me, moving that. If I look at the very centre, I want to put something on top of these ones at the very centre. So I want to echo my kind of red design. So I'm going to take my reds and they're going to go in on the ones that link in with the red. So if I look at my red chain, this is my red chain. So I'm going to top dot these quite carefully with my bright cherry red. That's actually what it's called, cherry red. Apologies if you're seeing the top of my head, I really hope you're not. If you are, you'll see it on my wonderful grey hairs. Yay, aren't you lucky? And then the same on the ones that are in from that as well. So I've got this continuous kind of red theme going on. 1, 2, last one, there we go. Hopefully you're able to see those top dots going on. They're quite small, so it's quite difficult to see them. And then finally, again, I've got the blue theme. I'm going to carry on the blue theme going down. So we'll take the blue down this row. And they're possibly a little bit clearer because they are very, very small. Let me see if I can zoom in on those for you. So zoomed in even more, you should just about, sorry, the whole thing's wobbling a little bit now. You should be able to see those top dots going onto the very central dots. It's getting very small and very tight now. There we go. Almost done. Going into the paint for the outer one. Then what's left is doing the inner one each time. Don't want to reload in between doing the two dots because that inside dot is very, very small and getting inside it, otherwise it's going to be really quite tough. So that's how we're looking at the moment, and then I'll come out of it. There we go. And I'm going to add on one final thing that I like this kind of chain going out, so I'm just going to add another set of dots going out from each of these, simply because I really like those, and it gives it this kind of sense of movement. It's coming from the same point. This idea of then the design looks like it's spinning or moving in the wind. I'm not going to do that with the gold. I think that just these blue on their own are enough to give that image the idea that it looks like it's moving or spinning. So there we go. Top dots on top, large dots around the outside. Very simple and straightforward, and I'll zoom back in again so you can see those top dots. We're going to focus, autofocus, come on machine, there we go. So just seeing the design on its own, you've got some top dots all the way through, some very small top dots in the centre, and then out again, and it will show you the full design. There we are. So thank you very much for watching this video by AJT Mandala Artist. If you want to find me on Instagram, you'll find me at Artistry and Craft, and the videos are on Oplatry Videos on YouTube. Nice to see you, and hopefully you'll check back with me again soon. Bye bye.